Mark Davis here, and I'm here to show you and teach you a technique that has helped my fishing tremendously. I've always fished with spinning tackle a lot, and years ago, of course, it was all monofilament line. Then came the introduction of braid, and now we're using a lot of fluorocarbon. I noticed it, and myself included, for a long time, I was spooling up straight fluorocarbon. And I tried the braid, and I really, I didn't adapt to it. But I'm here to tell you that for several reasons that we're going to talk about, I'm going to convince you that to try fishing with braid and a fluorocarbon leader and use an FG knot. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate an FG knot, but you can go on, online, you can Google it, or you can go on YouTube and learn how to tie the FG knot. It's a little harder to learn. It's probably the most complicated knot I've ever tied, but it's very beneficial. And the reason being, and you'll notice I've got a long leader here, and I'm going to get down to the knot. You notice, now here we go. There's the knot. And that one has already been fished with a lot. But an FG knot is long, it's slender, but what's very important about it is the tag ends are on the back side of the knot. They're back here. So the tag ends aren't going through the guides first. You've got this little slick part, and because it's thin, slick, and long, it goes through your guides really, really well, and it's super strong. Now you'll notice, if you can see that braid's got twist in it. Twist in your line that's the hardest part of spinning tackle fishing, is twisted line. Braid, however, because it's more like thread, twist doesn't affect it the way, and it really affects fluorocarbon because it's stiff. And once you get twist in it, you've got problems. So braid, just from the twist standpoint, is a really, really big benefit. The other big benefit of braid is no stretch, so you get a better hook set. Now you may ask, well, why do I use such a long leader? You'll notice on this rod in particular that I picked up, I've got maybe 20, 25 feet. If you were actually to go and measure this leader, it's really long. You can see I've got several wraps of fluorocarbon over the top of that braid. So I'm not using a little small leader. So why is that important? Well, when you make a cast, you still, even 25 feet of line out there for that leader, you still got the benefit of all that braid for the hook set, the non-stretch aspect of it, and as I mentioned, you're still going to get twist. If you're fishing with spinning tackle, you're going to get line twist, but the braid, it's not affected. The other great benefit is, with the FG knot, once you tie that knot, and we'll talk about line sizes too, but once you tie that knot, you're good for the day. In fact, I may fish 3 or 4 days with the same knot. It's that good. Let's talk a little bit about line size. First, with the braid. A lot of different braid manufacturers out there. I use a lot of Seaguar line, and if I'm fishing super light line for my leader, like say 6-pound test, I want to splice 6-pound test fluorocarbon. I'll use a 6-pound test, Seaguar InvisX or a BrazeX, and I will splice 6 to 10-pound test braid. If I go up to 8, I may go 8-pound test fluorocarbon to 15-pound test braid. If I go to 10, I'm going to splice 10-pound fluorocarbon to 15 or 20-pound test braid, all with the FG knot. Now, obviously, I'm going to use, the different line sizes according to the lure I'm fishing, the depth I'm fishing, but most importantly, the water clarity. Super clear water. I would rather not use 6. I mean, I only use 6 and I don't use it unless I absolutely have to. 8 is commonplace. I'll go up to 10 if I feel like I need a little bit heavier line. For some techniques, 10 is great. If the water's got a little color, 10 is 10 to 15 or 20-pound test braid is great. This works with, a wacky worm, like that little Strike King fat baby finesse or a little small ocho. If I'm fishing a drop shot, same thing. It works great, whether it be nose hooking it or rigging it weedless, Texas style on your drop shot. Shaky head, finesse worm, fishing a weightless worm. Again, working it, floating worm like we call it in the South. Even a finesse jig or a tube. All those techniques, I use the same rod and reel, the same line, the same setup. So now here's the big benefit. We talked a little bit about the line twist and that. Another great benefit, I see guys that are just buying line and if you're using straight fluorocarbon, no braid, that line's gonna get twisted, and you're gonna be changing the line every day, every other day. You're gonna have to change your line if you're fishing with one rod, throughout the day. With this setup, you spool on braid one time, and that line is gonna last you probably the whole season. I may change it, I fish every day. I may spool braid on my spinning rod maybe 3 times a year, so I'm using that same line. And now think about it. You're only using 25 feet of fluorocarbon every time you redo, your setup. So you're going to save a lot of line, So that, with all the other benefits of the hook set and the twist, and it's just a great system. Anytime I'm fishing spinning tackle, now I will say, if I'm fishing a moving bait, say a jerk bait, which I sometimes fish on spinning tackle, or a little crankbait, something that I'm casting and reeling, not so much. Not so much. I'm not going to use this setup. But if I'm fishing anything, soft plastics, jigs, gosh, there's endless possibilities that you can use this setup for. Even a light Carolina rig, it will work fine. And that knot, the way it's designed, it's really slick. I guarantee you, if you will adapt this into your fishing, it's going to make you a better fisherman.